Okay, let's dive into our presentation for today. I'm really excited, so pleased to be with you. Let me move this down so I've got everything going, and let's dive in. Okay, so welcome to Rave, Cosmology, Profiles, Purpose, and Function. And why would you want to learn human design? It's giving you a comprehensive insight, an overview of what somebody is. It enhances your understanding through practical application that not only helps you with your personal growth, but also your professional growth as well, because it leads to client satisfaction. And one of the tools that I'm going to give you is so profoundly helpful, thanks to Uru Hu, the founder and messenger of the human design system. It is about that body graph, but from a way more intricate space than most newcomers are aware of when they come to the human design system. We're going to dive into this beautiful mandala from a very deep and profound, accurate level. It's called True Profile. And True Profile is one of the practical tools and techniques that you're going to use when you learn it to integrate human design concepts into your life so that you have not only self-discovery and personal growth, just experiment with it, try it and see how this practical guidance, when we look at the body side of the body graph, you're looking at the thing that's unconscious about you. So it's unconscious, it's design, it's not something that's accessible by the mind, the personality. So we're going to be taking a look at the sun and earth of both the personality, you can see that little green 3 right there, as well as the design sun and earth. You see this 5 right here. This happens to be my chart. I'm a 3-5. And we're going to put it into context with the deeper layers, the true profile, the authentic profile that goes beyond just the basic 12 profiles that most people are very familiar with if you've been studying human design at all for some time. This is written in your genetic code, and the reason why I selected this as an aspect of what I wanted to go into next, in Rave Cosmology in particular, is because it's one of the most practical things that's going to get you in touch with your incarnation cross. So we just said personality and design sun earths. There's 192 possibilities. It's 70% of your imprint. It's part of your life's purpose or your life's work. So what we're going to do is talk about the core essence of your personality, and that's your psychology, as well as your physiological state of being in the world, how that is grounded into the earth which is the physical form, what gives us our capability of planting our cross, is this axis right here, the nodal axis, that has also a conscious and an unconscious aspect as well. So in today's class, we'll talk a bit about how the personal destiny, transpersonal karma, or fixed fate is part of your nature, in addition to the deep layers of the motivational frequencies and how you're determined to be uniquely you. So it goes beyond just the plain surface level of the chart, where we're normally looking at channels and how those channels are linked up to each other in different sets of circuitry. You could think of the body graph like a circuit board. So in this example, I'm showing you an element of tantric circuitry that is core and intrinsic to us as human species, being able to procreate and to not only make more, but remain viable in physical form as we generate life in response to create life. So as we look at this aspect of the knowledge, this is going to be review for those of you who are in Rave cartography, because we want to start off with a basis of understanding that is at least bringing us up on the same page. It might have been a while since you took Rave cartography, so I'm going to review this slide, and it should be review. If it's not review, you haven't taken Rave cartography, and you can't move on in this particular class, because Rave Cosmology has a prerequisite of cartography. Okay, so this first class free, you could say, is going to get everybody on the same page, at least for the 12 basic profiles. So just as a review: personal destiny, lower trigram, you can see it says lower trigram here, 1, 2, and 3, plus a little bit of the 4, okay? The 4 and the 6, still part of personal destiny. So these profiles, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 4, 2, 5, 3, 5, 3, 6, and 4, 6, are all under the realm of personal destiny, which means that your life is fulfilled through your own personal process. Your life purpose is fulfilled. It's not specific people that you have a karmic relationship with from past lives, that you have some kind of action that needs to take place between you and them in order for your life work to be fulfilled. So hi, I'm one of these, 3-5. We'll be using my chart as an example today. And obviously, if you continue on in the course, we're going to go deep into every single one of these true profiles, not just the surface profile, but true profiles, so that you can get a really good grasp of how you're here to be uniquely you. Okay, so that personal destiny in this hexagram structure, okay, there's where I need to come back to because I didn't finish that. That's for the next group. In the personal destiny, you're looking at people who are way more self-involved, self-absorbed. You could even say selfish on this end, where this transpersonal, you see the upper trigram, line qualities, transpersonal 4-6 is still part of personal destiny, and yet there is more connectivity. So remember the word connect. 3 and 4, connect. 3, bump into. 4, influence, network. So when we look at a 4-6, even though their line qualities are on the upper trigram, they are still part of personal destiny. Meaning, if we switch over to the other end of the spectrum, the left angle, okay, right angles down below, left angle. You who are left, you have a transpersonal karmic fulfillment of purpose, meaning you need allies. If you're in my life, I'm one of your allies. You need allies in order to fulfill your life's work. So in doing so, karma simply means action. When we're talking about left angles, we're talking about action from past lives that you're here to clean up karma with specific people. Okay, so that's the 5-1, 5-2, 6-2, and 6-3. Those people who are 5's personality or 6's personality have a karmic fulfillment of purpose with very specific people. We all incarnate on fractal lines. We are all connected before time was fractured into all of these little, we're all moments in time, fractured into all of these little pieces and spread out across the multiverses. Ra would call it the biverse, because conscious and unconscious. We all had a connective field to each other. So the closer that you are on the fractal line, the more connectivity you have with each other, the more you will reincarnate again and again and again with certain fractal buddies, you could say, karmic people or not. I'm a personal destiny. That doesn't mean that I don't have other people in my life, transpersonal karma, who are here in my life. It's just that in this life, this is just the play for this life, that person has some action that they need to take with me in order to fulfill past life karma. Now this is very important because these people who are in your life, or if you're in their life, now you know the dynamic or the balance of karma, and you can source into your awareness of maybe the experiential process of remembering something from past lives. Some people do remember those things. Ah, this person is familiar. You know, this person feels like an old friend, even from the moment that you meet them. I remember looking up into my husband's eyes and thinking, wow, him. I before I even went to that place where I met him, I'm talking big capital H, him. I knew I was going to meet him. And then when I met him, I knew. Okay? So you notice that I didn't mention fixed fate, juxtaposition. They are the bridges that hold these two realms together. 4-1s build strong networks of people from a foundational level in order to teach. These are the consummate teachers. They're on a fixed track. They're very much following that track And they're here to be able to bridge those two aspects of personal destiny and transpersonal karma. So their process, everyone's process is unique in their own, but we shall see as we go deeper into the public roles, the profiles, the 12 archetypal roles of how we are imprinted genetically as we spiral through space and time. Because remember, this is new life, new action, because karma is built from past lives. So every time you have a new life, there's new action. So the laws of karma is part of my fulfillment of my purpose, being able to experiment, trial and error, and be able to teach from that place of attuning to the knowing inside of the experiential process as I work my way through life, adapting and universalizing. So now this is going to be interactive. Look down at your body graph, please, and just grab these two keynotes for yourself, because it's not common that we usually use them in common vernacular. It's for you as an analyst to really go into what does it mean to adapt and project, relatively speaking, or introspect, or externalize, or universalize, or transition. What does it mean truly for you? What do you do? What is the action that you're taking in life? Or what is the awareness that you have? Or what is the process or the path that you're experiencing your way to fulfill your personal destiny, fixed fate, or karma, transpersonal karma? You're going to do it in one of 4 ways, which can be subcategorized into 8 ways. We learned that in incarnation cross analysis, where it's either the foundational learning or the fulfillment of the application of that purpose in 4 different ways. Purpose fulfilled through mind, the initiation of mind, quarter 1. Purpose fulfilled through form, the civilizing effect of communication and action in the world of form. Purpose fulfilled through duality, the dualistic nature of me and you creates 2, which is actually a 3rd thing, the bonding in one's life, the making more on the physical plane. And then the last is transformation or mutation. So in the interpretation of these words in context with not only your profile that is married to a cross, this cross that you bear in this life, it doesn't have to be a burden, but when you marry this awareness of type relative to the public role profile, and now we're going to add on a new layer. What's under the surface? The true profile. Not the one that your mind thinks, oh, it's my lot in life. Okay, in the shadow state, the not self, the 3rd line, martyr. Okay, martyr is poor me. Why me? Why again? Why now? You know, why? Why is life so hard? Why is life so unfair? Why is life so difficult? Just one example of the martyr complex. We flip that and we find underneath that is an archetype of priesthood. Priesthood meaning, don't do that. I tried that. They'll burn you at the stake. That'll kill you. Don't eat that mushroom. You know, this is the experiential plane, and in order to make this work, we've got to adapt. That's one of the things that a 3 learns, either consciously or unconsciously, if it's an unconscious 3. Okay, so here's the true archetypal role. Additional words that you can use, either at the line level, but to be more accurate and precise, I want to take you to color. If you don't know what color is, don't worry, I'll explain in a bit. Color, as a vibrational frequency, is unstable, meaning it's not always going to come across this way. Just like everybody's not always a guru or Buddha or Bodhisattva. We all have life to work with too. Color is something that is going to be on or off depending on the vibratory nature of the being in alignment or not. Okay, so color is either going to get distorted in a sense of perceptual reality, the perceptual reality, we call that distraction. Or what we're talking about today is the sun, earth on the personality side or the design side, And those can also transfer. Okay? The mind is always going to transfer. Its distortion is called transference. Okay? So on the mind side, you can be aware of being in that Buddha nature, or that guru nature, or in that preachy nature, or in the prophet nature, or in the messenger nature, or in the teacher nature. You can be aware. And this is the most liberating thing I can tell you as far as my experiential process, not only for my own personal process of awareness, but in contributing the essence of either the survivability, learnability, or spirit consciousness of a being that I'm attuned to and attempting to serve and support and explain, sing them home to the nature of their true, authentic being. This right here is a wonderful tool. And this is the emphasis that we're going to take on today's class. Okay, so we'll come back to these archetypes. Now, we're going to dive into the depth. If we can look here, we can see this is a 3-5, and we're going to dive into how the personality 3 and the design 3 are different things, and we use different words under the surface. So I'll say again, the design is the unconscious physical form. It's your physiology. The personality, the witness of this life, the awareness principle, the core of who you think you are, its psychological nature is the conscious awareness of being motivated to action or not. Either a personal process of motivation or a motivational process that is more externalized to a transpersonal process with the other. Okay, so everybody's going to work differently. This is where we start with the 12 profiles, 3 and 5, my example. Okay, so if we look down at the 3 and 5 now, we're going to dive into a different way of looking at things, and it may seem like a lot. Take a deep breath. We're not going to learn everything today. We're just going to focus on the mechanisms of how it works. Okay, so the next 10 weeks will be diving into how it works for you and how it works for others. But just for today, because it's easier to talk about self when you're a personal perspective person, I'm going to explain how it works for me and show you the relatability and the variability outside of that public role, that profile that I am. Martyr, consciously; heretic, unconsciously. So you can see then, underneath the surface of the personality, we have a color that is 3. It's a priest, archetypally, or priestess, you could say, if you want to talk to the femininity aspect. And then we have the color on the body side. Hello, Laveena over here with her teacher quality, teacher of messenger teacher as far as the personality or design, Sun Earth. Underneath that 5 is a 3 color, again, priest. So priestess, priestess, underneath that awareness. There's going to be all kinds of different combinations. And underneath this, we're looking at tonal cognition on the body side. Notice it says smell and taste and outer vision and inner vision and feeling and touch. Each one of these tonal cognitions is the physiological way that one is nourished by information and food and people too from the inside. Okay, taking in life, determined to take in life uniquely and differently. We call that tone. So if we look at that now in contrast with the body, priest, and for me, tone is feeling. If you look at the mind, priest, and for me, tone is security. What we're looking at is a way of being aware on the psychological side, and on the body, the physiological forms, unaccessible by the personality. It's always running in the background. Okay, it's always part of the process. It's an additional tonal cognition is additional information that you can use to nourish your form. You can use it for diagnosis. You can use it for treatment on the form side. Over here, you can use it for an awareness of your awareness of purpose, for us to be attuned to from an analytical place, not necessarily that you can always attune to it from the psychological awareness space. Okay, but just knowing that these elements are there, that they're the intelligence of the mind or the intelligence of the form. Okay, so those elements of the profile have a deeper nuance. We have the lines, and then we have the colors, and then we have tones underneath. So if this is your first time seeing the depth to which human design profile can go, I know it can be overwhelming. Again, don't worry, you don't have to understand it all today. Just to know that it's there. And now you can see the fractal nature of these repeating patterns, the cyclical process as all of us spiral through space and time, the genetic imprints of which ones the program is emphasizing and which ones are actually not emphasized, as in an attunement to how we as human species are genetically programmed to evolve. So now we're going to take and look a step further up the ladder, you could speak, to a 3-6, which is one step beyond me. If I'd have been born a little bit later, I would have been a 3-6, okay? And we know from our line quality, hexagram line qualities, that those both are harmonic to each other, similar in nature, but not the same. The same would be resonant. These are harmonic, so they're similar. Now, what you'll notice is we only have one color here. That's it. We only have one possible color for harmonic people. Harmony is important for our harmonic people. You could think of them like the bridges between the dissonant profiles. I'm a 3-5, I'm dissonant, more common. When we have more variability, more difference, there's more change and there's more uniqueness, as you can see now. So in the 3-6, we have the 6-line role model, we have a first color teacher, all 3 6s, and all harmonic profiles, indeed, are going to be first color on the body side. And then we look to the 6th color on the mind side. They're always going to be motivated innocently, which is a motiveless motivation. So their mental awareness is always going to be driven to find the harmony in things and to be objective above it all, like the Buddha, Bodhisattva, a Buddha teacher underneath that martyr role model. Okay, so we're looking at somebody whose personality construct is a martyr Buddha, and their design construct is a role model teacher. Okay, that's the true profile. That's the true profile. What happens when a person is not in alignment? They have no access to the uniqueness of their form principle or their mental awareness. They're cognitively dumbed down. So they have no intelligence when they're not operating in alignment. And what happens is color transfers. Color transfers. What does that mean? It means that it doesn't show up the way it's supposed to when you're not operating in alignment, when you're not making decisions that are trustworthy in alignment with your form and this life's purpose fulfilled through being. What happens is now you become somebody who is not a teacher and is not a Buddha. So you're running around the martyr, potentially trying to be the role model and failing at the full fulfillment of the purpose because you have no access to this. So it shows us why making decisions that you can trust, entering into the experiment of being your own authority is so critical and so valuable and so important. Because if you're not operating in alignment, none of this stuff I'm telling you about the true profile matters because you have no access to it. Now, what happens when you're operating in alignment? This right here can lock in. The physical form, the one's physiology, color can lock. But on the psychological nature, no matter how much you're living life in alignment on the physical side, The mind still transfers. It's a binary. It'll always do that. So the point is not to get the mind not to transfer, not to see things from a skewed perspective. You're always going to vacillate or move back and forth in your perceptual awareness. What matters is the awareness of your consciousness, the consciousness that is aware of its Buddha nature or not. When you're in that process of being transferred, so in this person's case, what happens is no intelligence of one's unique nature. And when you are not operating in alignment, or whether you are operating in alignment, through color transference, can you be aware of the desirous desperation to force or to make something happen? You're not supposed to do that. You're an innocence motivation person. So can you be aware of that thing happening? And when you catch yourself in that awareness, can you ask, who's watching? This is the one place in human design where it should be quite clear relative to your nature of awareness that you can catch your mind looking at your mind. This is your mind looking at the pattern of your mind within a pattern that is greater than what we can even comprehend. And when you catch yourself in that awareness of who's watching, there is a potential to connect in with the passenger consciousness, this intelligence of being, the being that was you before time was time, the eternal nature of you. That eternal nature of you is just that. It's eternal. It doesn't die. And it's also sitting there, Buddha nature, yeah, with awareness of being something more, something beyond than just what you think of as yourself. But in this life and in this time, this era, this body coming online with the awareness principle of form knowledge. That's what this system is. It's form knowledge. The form knowledge coming online aligns oneself to right action. And that right action sourced from the nature of the true being, the totality of you, within the totality of us, which is all one thing, aligns us to right action. And that brings the spirit of abundance that arises from within, the alignment to the nature of being. Success for projectors, satisfaction for generators, peace for manifestors, surprise for our reflectors. That is your spirit. And that happens when life is making decisions through you, it feels like, rather than your mind trying to force things in the outside world to line up with what you expect or what you think needs to happen. It all comes back to you and you being your own authority. And you are the only one that can experience the quality of your consciousness because no one else lives inside of your mind with you. All we can do is hear what you say to us and the resonance of truth or not. Truth is individual. Each one of you is your own experimental vibrational frequency that is singing its soul song or not. And when you get attuned to the vehicle, now something lives inside of you, breathes inside of you, that is beyond just the regular day-to-day mundane reality. Something powerful breaks through that mundane reality and mutates you so that you are lived, breathed into conscious awareness of being, an experiment of consciousness embodied in this form, and that eternal nature of the awareness principle that you are and shall remain eternal goes on. Death is just a doorway. It's a transformation into a new form. We never really die. Not really. This form, yes, gets recycled. So as we evolve through the profiles, and no one is ever better than anyone else, the program itself is actually emphasizing specific qualities, not to be confused with line qualities if you're a BG5 student. Specific characteristics of the color nature and the tonal cognition, because it's evolving us towards quad rightness, the Rave. So there are far more of that evolutionary slant towards the fullest mutation of what a human being is. Right here and now, 4-6, you are someone more than just that opportunistic role model. Whatever your nature is, the color underneath the line quality, that is part of the fulfillment of your purpose. It's part of the nature of your incarnative cross. This incarnate, to be embodied in the flesh. The personality construct is a witness to this life. And the form dominates once one lives in alignment, rather than trying to make decisions from a mental space, which is not intelligent. You always lose intelligence when you make mental decisions. When you're attuned to the body and the form, this vehicle, this experience of being, life is so much sweeter, in my terms. More satisfying if you are generative. More peaceful if you're manifested. More surprising if that is your nature of being. Okay. So, when you look at this element of being, what we're going to be looking at, besides this transitional profile, we call these harmonic transitional profiles, to use technical term. What you're looking at, there's something quite odd. They're limited in their motivation. What we look at here is in this 4-6, again, another one, just like what we had up here with the 3-5, with this 4-6, the dissonant profile, meaning the line qualities of the personality and the line qualities of the design do not harmonize, and we have no resonant profiles, otherwise we would be stagnant and stuck, we would not evolve. This is for the evolutionary process of the human species. And so what you're looking at, there's all these different types of motivational frequencies, personality, sun, earth, or physical determinations for one's attunement to being determined to take in life uniquely. See all the different colors there. So it's just an interesting dynamic. When we look at a transitional profile, here's the 4-1, further up the evolutionary spiral. Not good, not bad, not right, not wrong. It's always an evolutionary spiral, so there is no better than in public role or profile. What you're looking at again is we have a 6-color Buddha and a 1st-color teacher. And you'll notice that that pattern continues on with all of them. It's called chains. If you want to learn deeper about chains as a, there's so many words, differentiation degree practitioner, you can go and take that class at IHDS. It's quite fascinating. It's a little bit overwhelming at times, I know, looking at this and seeing there's a lot of data there. I don't know what to look at, but what I'm doing now is focusing your attention on the harmonic profile, especially if you're one of these harmonic profiles. Look, the only possibility, again, color 6, Buddha nature, personality. Unconscious, color 1, teacher. So that means there's a different quality to that 5-2, that they have no access to these other colors, none whatsoever. It's only the dissonant profiles. Okay? No 5-2 was ever born with any other color, 1, 2, 3, or 5 on the personality side, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the design side. That's true for all harmonic profiles. Okay? So that means something very important when it comes to us now looking again at personal destiny, fixed fate, and transpersonal karma. You see the fixed fate juxtaposition, that's why the arrow up and down, to juxtapose two very different things next to each other, like the exaltations and detriments. Okay, this is just pointing to up, okay, upper trigram. These are pointing to lower trigram. This is pointing to both, right? It's got a upper trigram 4, and it's got a lower trigram 1. So that's what those arrows mean. Then we look at the deeper layers, as we have done, and we see that there is a 6-color and a 1st-color. 6-color personality, 1st-color body, always, for all of the harmonics. So here we can see them, big picture view. Harmonics are, this is the dissonance, so hang on. Harmonics are, there we go, 1, 4, okay, 2 and 5, 3 and 6, 4, 1, 5, 2, and 6, 3. So then if you go and look at Jovian Archive, I've done this lots in classes, so I won't do this with you right now, but you go over to statistics, you can see how much less people are born as the glue, harmonics holding us together in this evolutionary spiral. And if most people are not operating in alignment, then our people who are designed to be attuned to harmony and innocently in non-interference or non-desperation to try and force something specific, non-desirous to try and force something specific to happen. If they're all operating in alignment, what happens to a chain when something's off? Wiggles, yeah? There's no harmonic glue that holds this spiral together. So it's very important. I know that they don't get a lot of attention, the harmonic profiles, because there's not as many of them. We don't come across them every day. Yeah, we've always got our 3 5s and our 1 3s and our 2 4s and our 4 6s and 5 1s and 6 2s. They're much more common, much more plentiful. But the things like the 4 1, see the fixed fate juxtaposition, holding like a bridge, holding personal destiny and transpersonal karma together, these are also like a kind of glue. And it is important that we find them and attune them to their sovereign nature of being. I love that phrase. I can feel something move inside, enlighten and open up inside when I say that. Because everyone is deserving of making decisions that they can trust. And when they do that over some time and they attune to right action with self or self with other or whatever the case may be, impact, what have you, guidance, advice. When they do that, now we're talking to the harmonics. When they do that from an innocently, non-action oriented to force something specific to happen, now that chain is smoother. The evolutionary process is more held together because this is what they do for us. They teach. On the physical form side, they are all teachers. At the core fundamental truth of what they do for us, they teach. Nothing more important for a 1-4, I don't care what type they are, than their education. A solid foundation so that they can externalize their teaching to others about what it is to be harmonious in the world. Harmony, 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 harmony. So it is my desire that you grab some things from this, even if you never move forward in this course, that you are looking at the public roles costumes that we can wear in our lives in a different light, and especially the specialness and the vulnerability or the importance of these harmonic profiles, looking at them in such a unique way, about how different they really are from the rest of us. So personal destiny, again, research and development, R&D. You ever work in R&D? R&D down there. And then we have the 4-6, which is still part of personal destiny, but upper trigram, so more externalized. And then we have the 4-1, the bridge, the glue, holding personal destiny and transpersonal karma together. And then we have our people who are here literally to save or rescue or fix. Not everybody, just the right ones for you. Or role model or lead by lived example. Not everyone, just the right ones for you. So, real specific, I want you to see that the true profile has so much more to offer you if it was right for you to investigate into a little bit deeper layer of this knowledge. Okay, so real brief, personality crystal, design crystal, magnetic monopole, that 88-degree separation of the personality consciousness versus design consciousness. It creates a different feed, if you will, a different energetic feed from the cosmos, because that's what we're doing here. We're just analyzing planetary imprints on our genetic potentials, the genetic imprinting from the cellular matrix of our solar system. If you think of our solar system as a cell, the nucleus, the sun, okay, 70%, and then wherever those planets are, the feed from the star field, not only of the sun, but the star field beyond, penetrating into our genetics. So if we had a 90-degree angle, we would have same with same, because the 88-degree angle right there is the thing that makes it more possible. 90-degree, stagnation. We would have 3 3s probably, and 4 4s, and 5 5s, and 6 6s, and we just wouldn't have that evolutionary tension, you could say, or dynamic evolutionary flow. So as an example, instead of having 3 5s, we would have 5 5s. And what's the fun in that? Where we have dissonance, the dissonant profiles, is usually where there's a little bit more of a challenge to be aware. So the reason being is because there's no harmonic process. And not that it's bad or wrong, just that it's different. There's a lot more variability in dissonant profiles for a reason. So if we begin at the 2 5 and we start to go into 3 5 territory, we can see the personality, line, martyr, color 1, teacher. It always begins with 1 and moves to 6. So on the body side, we have the line, heretical, 5, and underneath, that color is always going to be a 2 when married with the color 1 teacher. So that's where you see true profile, okay? True profile. This is, let's call it generic profile, okay? Not that it's bad, it's where you have to enter into in the knowledge. But now that human design's been around, it's almost 40 years now, and it's a lot more commonplace for people to talk about, I'm a 3 5, whatever the case may be. It's much easier to enter into this level of the knowledge because, A, it's just a couple other keynotes, words, formula phrases that you can tack on and see, how does that land with me? Do I like it or not? Some people might really not like being called a guru. So what's true for you, what's authentic to you, you'll find as you decondition over time. Perhaps it's a different word that really resonates with you. Again, remember, the colors are archetypal words, labels that we use to, again, generalize, because underneath the surface of that, we've got tone. So 2s on the 3 side, see the 3, 2, and on the 5 side, 5, 3. So you see the 1, 2, 3, 6, 1, 2. There's always this evolutionary spiral. And it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on it goes. This evolutionary spiral that does not complete. It just continues and evolves. And it is the planetary positions, Sun, Earth, and everything else, that imprints the body on the body side, physiological side, and the mind side. So everything inside of this resonance principle, your mind resonating to, let's take a different example. If we've got a 3 line, 3rd line martyr with a 5th color messenger, whenever that person meets another person who has a 5, okay, this person as 3 5 will resonate with that person's 5 because they have it on the line side, the body side, and on the mind side, the line will start to vibrate. Your color motivation will start to vibrate with that, because we're all resonance principles. We're all vibrating. We're all energy. So whatever it is, whether it's color or line, you're going to vibrate with that. Now, next that I want to show you is that as we move from 1 3 to 1 4, you see that 1 3 to 1 4, and then we go to the 2 4, and then we go to the 2 5. You have this shifting that's taking place. This is now expanded out to see the color underneath, the resonance of color. See, resonance of the line with color, or not. 3 and 2 don't mix. Okay, they don't mix, as in they're not similar. They're not the same. So profile, when it comes to identifying with the public role, it's coming from 2 activations within your nature. On the color side, on the mental side, it's the black sun and earth. On the body side, it's the red sun and earth. So those elements of your sun earth principles, think about this as the great I am. I am mind embodied in form this life, incarnate in form this life. So sun earth, incarnation cross, I am the 70%. Everything else, nuances and subtleties, accents in learning about the nature of being. Everything else, characteristics. And the whole point in liberating the passenger from making decisions is so that it can be wiped clean of attempting to think that it is in control and it can see things clearly. Because the moment that you have some kind of wish, aim, goal, desire for something that comes from your internal mental process, now it's clouding your awareness of being, the pure being of that which you came for, your physical experience of living life in alignment with this personality, watching instead of thinking that it's running the show. And so to fulfill the life's work, you transcend the characteristics and play out the great big archetypal theme of one's genetic nature. So whatever your incarnation cross happens to be, you are not these tiny little digits on a screen, or my this is in this, therefore I am that. 70%. The 70% vibrates with everything else in that body graph. So to put it into more practical terms, if you're a 3-5 like me, I vibrate with all fifth lines. I have 9 fifth lines on mostly the body side. So it really does land with me when I study all those fifth lines. On the mind side, 3, ooh, trial and error, bonds made and broken. Every single, all of the 64 hexagrams, my mind resonates with that 3-ness, okay? So that's what it means. Making decisions that you can trust in accordance with your form principle, this body, which is life, this vehicle. At some point, you transcend your characteristics, just the dangling gates hanging in space, and you become something more. And that moreness has no rules. But what do you mean there's no rules? I'm supposed to follow my strategy and honor my authority. Yeah, and at some point, the training reels come off, and you are authoritative in your nature as a teacher, if that indeed is your design. So again, bringing you back up to the true profile, great big archetypal role that it is that you are here, this costume that you grow into, that you be. And no one else can take away your sovereignty, your nature of being you, unapologetically true to you. Okay, so personality, design, don't need that for you guys. That I should have posted over into while I was describing physicality, okay, 5s, vibrating to all 5-ness, whether or not I have that. Remember, everyone has everything, if you haven't heard me teach before. You have access to everything. That 64 trait matrix is us. But some of this is not authentic to your nature, so it's not going to be honored by the other because it's coming across as a, let's say, resonance principle. It's not a physical thing. So here's Laveena delighting in the joyousness and vitality of being a teacher. And when somebody calls me a teacher, thank you, Alex. When somebody calls me a teacher, I go, oh, yep, that's me, you know? And before human design, teacher? Okay, so the body is the life. This is the 70%. Again, everything else, nuances and subtleties, accents, truly. In context with the voice, the quality of the voice, or the complexion of the skin, or the temperature of the body, or the auric principle, or the ability to exhale, or the movement of the body, or the hydration, or on the physical side here, the ability to inhale. Each one of these aspects are not you, because you are not just that one little tiny digit on a screen. You are so much more than that in context. So If information is king, context is queen, maybe, something like that. Where contextually, if you bring it back up to the surface of seeing what it is that you are together, now we have a strategy. Now we can see the form principle at work. And raw created type, it's synthetic, it's not voice delivered. He created type. The voice didn't say, this is a type of people, this label, this whatever. Ra created that in order to make it very easy for people to experiment with and also translate the knowledge. What's really easy to do? Complexify. What's really challenging to do? What's brilliant to do? Simplify. So that it would go deep into the realms of the genetic matrix, my mind said, into the realms of the human species so that it could penetrate as far as it could go. Okay, so type, strategy, and authority, training wheels. Training wheels. And when you attune to the true nature of being, you are not type and limited to this little box. You are being, and the training wheels come off. Now, I know I'm being very heretical. It's not that type isn't important. It absolutely is. It shows the nature of the vehicle, the expansion or the contraction of the aura, the density of the aura, the focus penetration of the aura or not. Depends on the type. But when one is living solidly in alignment, you can feel, personally, I can feel when something's off. If you're feeling cognition like me, you feel when something's off. If your sensory capacity, you smell, taste, see, inner vision, or touch, something's off. So pay attention to this body, which is the vehicle and the life. And when one is living life in alignment, the form dominates. And the mind no longer runs the show. It just witnesses, it watches. Oh, my body did that. And my mind can reflect and can share. But just because you're aware doesn't mean it gives you the license to try and manipulate reality in order to be something other than what it already is. Or that's my experience anyway. In being here, this very deep mapping that we're going into, the way that I'm teaching it to you right now, I would not teach to a new person. The way that I'm teaching to you is, my assumption is you're in it for the long haul. Most of my students who have been with me for years are. And you want to know what I know from this experience, having lived this knowledge for this long and studied this deeply. And so that was the energetics of what I could give you at this moment. Again, you are not this, but what you think you are is this imprint right here. So awareness of, and you can hear when Laveena gets off on her preachy biz, the preachiness of priestessing, preaching. The energy rises, it's there, and then it falls. And that's just the nature of being cyclical in one's nature of awareness. You can see that this martyr priestess, heretical priestess, which is, you could change the language and we could potentially say messenger priestess, if you like. You don't have to. But to get another flavor or an archetypal nature, we know fives have a message for the strangers, don't they? They have to be practical with their teaching, grounded in this vehicle, this form, the higher self, the higher realm. Otherwise, disempowerment ensues. The further off your path, the more fragmented one's nature is. And fragmentation shows up at the surface level like frustration, anger, bitterness, disappointment. And at the surface level, the open functions, the undefined functions, having those conditioned adaptive strategies that drive one batty or insane, quite literally insane, believing the delusion of this current Maya. So the Maya outside of you, this reality that you believe is true, is created by your mind every day. When you wake up in the morning, this is it. So the moon, is it the moon or is it Venus? Hang on. Is in a gate that is deathly in the nighttime, dream Ralph. dream realm. Where is it? Is this the just now? Where is that 40? Oh, it moved. Okay. Well, 42 was in the transit, and that's death. So, long story short, woke up, thought my husband had died. It was actually a different husband in my dream state. Woke up, the bleed through made me think, oh, he's dead. And for an instantaneous moment, I thought my husband had passed. And I could feel the chemical reaction in the body. Okay, the body. Because believing the mind story, it can be affecting the body. So, what happens, just mechanically speaking, when this mind imagines and fantasizes, or whatever your mind happens to do, quite regularly, when your mind is processing, it's creating Maya, it's creating the illusion. This is only a little bit of the nature. The physical form is the truth. So that's why in this experimental process, taking a deep breath and attuning to the body, the vehicle, the form principle being the life, you are more likely, the first thing that you look at when you look at a design, you are more likely to align to the form if you take a deep breath and align to what is here now, this life, this presence of being, this physical form. The body feels this, the mind thinks that. It's easier for me, I know, because my mind is conscious and my body is unconscious. So at some point, the shift in the deconditioning process, the shift happens to where your body starts to live its life and dominates. Okay? It's more present, available, alive, vibrant, vital, and intrinsic, that you're allowing the body to do its thing. Kind of like when you learn how to drive a car and you're able to let go of your mind trying to figure out what to do over some years. Your body knows how to drive a car and your mind can just, watch. Doesn't have to do the driving. The body, the design, does you. It moves you. It drives you, or it pulls or pushes you, depending on the nature of what you have there. So when we look at the design, a heretical priest, the heretic that preaches, you hear Laveena up on the pedestal when it's practical, being seen when it's practical. You're my friends. I didn't advertise this very much. I trust that you will forgive any mistake that comes out of the mouth when I get into my preachy and the mind gets embarrassed. What are you saying, woman? And why are you saying it that way? This is what the mind does. Why are you so wacky and weird and silly? Make all those funny voices. This is what the mind does. Okay, so the priestess in me is attempting to cool your jets. It's a saying in Hawaii, cool your jets, cool your jets. Just calm down. No need for heating everything up. Let go, okay? If we think about what priestess means for a moment too, it says, don't do that. That takes you to hell. Just archetypally speaking. The hell of the not-self. Do this instead. I'm luring you with sweetness towards your truth. I'm attempting to dissuade you from the pain with the anxiety, frustration, bitterness, resentment, whatever it is that comes up when you're not operating in alignment, by just explaining mechanics to the best of my ability. So if we think about what this means, this is the design side. This mind has no conscious access to when the heretical priestess is going to start teaching and preaching. No way to know when that rise of energy is inspired to speak from the higher self. No way. No control. It just happens or it doesn't. I'm not the boss of it, you know? So it doesn't feel like it's really me when I'm on with you. In fact, my family knows I have different voices. When I'm just hanging out with them, talking, voice is different than the lecture voice, which, as Naraya has explained to me, which is different than the BG5 lecture voice, which is different than the human design lecture voice, which is different than the mothering, I'm sure, voice, you see. No control, no access consciously. Can be, what I've experienced, aware when it's coming out. Ah, that feeling of being tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and lit up by something that's moving through me energetically that I can experience in the moment and after the fact, but not controlling what comes out of the mouth. What am I going to preach on? I don't know. Depends on what this person, because I'm communicative with people all day long, or all week long anyway, in teacher mode, and having that attunement live itself without my mind trying to figure out what to do. I just go with the flow of that moment. After the fact, with reflections of my students, I can perceive, oh yeah, I did this because that, says my mind. As in, this is what the pattern I recognize as what's happening. That's about it. Okay, so body-wise, just know for yourself, unconscious, no conscious access, but can start to, and this is what you can do with your clients, is help them also recognize too what it's like when the body is communicating with you. The body is not using words to communicate with you. It uses sensation. It uses attunement to vibration. It uses smell, taste. It can manufacture smells and tastes that aren't there to communicate with you. Right, Nina? Outer vision, see things that aren't there, or see things in such a way that nobody else can see what they're seeing. Inner vision, that internal sight that you might get. Or the felt sense, the feeling cognition, that is across the board, all of those things, including touch, which is the acceptance of being in accordance with the communing with the other. So if we look over here, when Laveena is operating in accordingly with her strategy and authority, then what happens is the contagion, the fire that infects others with the way that my mind works, preaches her awareness of what goes horribly wrong, trial and error. That was a learning opportunity, and we see here, color 3 and 4 are about learning. So then, what does the martyr do? Admit the lie or the flaw or the falsity or the thing that doesn't work, stand up for that principle and preach, don't do that. Or can you stop doing that? You know, it sounds like it hurts because when you're talking, I feel pain. Like that's what I feel in my body, in this body, because I'm a feeling cognition. And projected and penetrating, focused, absorbing aura and conditioning and all that jazz. So in the life process, in this life movie, okay, this mind in its mental awareness, I find security in understanding or comprehending that this mind in its variability of how it imagines what could be is not the process of making decisions, and yet it affects the physical form. Just like I gave you that story about how I woke up and thought my mind thought my husband, this life, had died because of the dream. That felt sense of that recognition of what that could feel like if he were dead affects the physical form. And the reason I'm saying that is because the way that it's taught, one of the really amazing teachers who passed on a few years ago got to the place where he said, ignore the mind, only follow the body. Wait, what? The mind and its imprinting and only follow the body, I'd be a self-projected projector. I wouldn't have to wait for emotional clarity. I know that's off. So please ensure that you're experimenting with what is right for you. The slide is showing you the different colors underneath and how each one of us can be so different. A 3-5 is not a 3-5 was not a 3-5. You have a 3-5 that it's a projector and a generator and a manifestor and a reflector. And we have color underneath. And this is true profile. You get access to color the longer you're in this. No access to this, the further away from your truth that you get. And how do you know? Frustration, angerness, bitterness, disappointment. No intelligence. And then this color is like, oh, I want to be a role model. No, everything's fine. I can hide my shit. No, I don't have any shit. Doesn't stink. That's what it used to be. Totally burying my head in this sand, playing the innocent, and getting so upset that why doesn't my life work? I have failed marriages. I have failed businesses. I have failed. What's wrong with me? You know, always thinking the what's wrong with me trip. Okay, so this is the place where if you are brand spanking new, I suggest bye-bye. Don't go further. It might be overwhelmed. This might be enough, yeah? There's Nina. Stinky cheese, exactly. It's communicating to you. Hers having a smell gate. So just to get everybody on the same page, remember, base is eternal. You were always born on the same base, which is the entry frequency of the neutrino stream entering the crystal of consciousness. So your base is eternal. Above that is tone. Tone is the inner architecture of the crystal of consciousness, the inner frequency. And above that is color. Color, this is why it's unstable and transfers or is distracted. You could say the color exit frequency is right above the tone and it's under the line. So color colors the way that you read your lines in this life. Whatever your line happens to be is colored by the tone underneath, which is affected by the tone affects the color. Color affects the line. The line is how you express your gate. All right? So the only thing that's eternal is the base. The base is eternal. The base is seen in this little tiny square here. We will not be working with base in this class because otherwise it would take years to get through this class. We're not doing that, and base is so sensitive to time, birth time, we do not know, and it's underneath, like so far buried that you may not recognize it. It's just not usable as data for, it's not practical to use as data for coaching or consulting, okay? Ra says, and this is Ra's chart, the fact is that we are all very, very specific in the way in which we are intended to operate, in the way in which we are intended to uniquely, ultimately display our uniqueness. And so this is what this course is going to do for you, is help you get to the embodiment awareness of your uniqueness, the uniqueness that is you. So that's my introduction to Rave Cosmology Profiles. A bit wordy, but I'll take it. And then, it's for fun, yeah, first time around. Now we're going to go into the elements that are a part of cosmology as the course, as far as the course is concerned. Basically an overview of the things that we're going to learn in this course at a much deeper level. So what we were looking at were the archetypal colors, and now they're transposed onto the same image. So when it comes to this generalized configuration of Sun, Earth, now we know, now you know that there's something underneath, and you probably already know what that is. So make sure you have your chart. If at this point you don't have it, you want to get an advanced chart so that you can look and see what your color is. And you can see now on this slide that there's a whole series of keynotes that are connected there. So there they are. And here we move into that, which shows us the nature of these archetypal roles that one can be observant of, especially after the fact, or as it's coming out of you somewhere. Recognize that this speaking one's lines from a color of being a teacher versus being the guru, versus being a priest, versus being a prophet, versus being a messenger, versus being a Buddha. They are all elemental frequency fields of the color expression of how you read your lines. If you think of the life as a movie, it's a play, the Maya, yeah? So these are resonant values between color as well as line. You can see the line, don't you? Introspection, projection, adaptation, externalization, universalization, and transition. Aren't those familiar from what we know to be true about profile. Yeah. So this whole sequence of keynotes that we're going to go into, it's going to help us understand from a deeper level, what is it to be a first line, which resonates to being a teacher, besides being introspective and it being about fear. Fear is the color motivation. So now I'm speaking specifically and especially to the personality crystal, your witness, the awareness principle of your conscious sun earth. Okay, your conscious sun earth. So specifically, this color motivation of fear and all those related terminologies, what might it do? Fear. It provides the impetus, the energy dynamic to dig deep into something, to unearth those things that is potentially unknown, and yet there is a fear driving it to be known. So knowing how this shows up in you can only come through experimentation and awareness, because awareness really is the name of the game here. What happens is, when you're living life in accordance or alignment, or not, there's always going to be two words that are associated with the color. And we call this here trajectory. It's motivational awareness of the frequency field of fear showing up, either as being aware of communalism or separatism, leading one to want to live in community or live in separation. So this is the most strange place of the body graph. I kid you not. It took me a long time to grasp this. But I'll tell you, at this level, let go of your mind thinking good, bad, right, wrong, or fixed or not. Because trajectory, and that's what these keynotes are, whether they're at the personality awareness level, which they're the same keynotes, different color keynote, but trajectory is the same. What you're looking at is a vacillation or not that takes time or not. Meaning, there is no way I can analyze for you whether or not you are going to be communalist or separatist this life. You just get to be aware of it. You're either going to be stuck on the communalist side because it's right for you or not. This is part of the awareness principle that you can sometimes attune to or be able to see as part of your deconditioning process after you go through the 4 transformations. So what this is doing to you, for you, is helping you to attune to, what's more? What's there? What do I have potentially to look forward to? Or not, might not be correct for you to go to this level of the knowledge. So again, if it's too much or overwhelm, come back to it another day, okay? So most people get stuck with the concept of fear here. And fear drives me to be a separatist, or fear drives me to be a communalist, and it's bad or it's wrong because I'm scared. No, actually, the terror, the abject terror, what we know fear, that word as, is usually a 4th color person attempting to make decisions from fear. And that's what we call transference, where they have no intelligence of their mental awareness that feeds this. Okay? So if we look, again, without really comprehending motivation completely quite yet, you might not, because you might not have you might not have attempted to grasp this level of the knowledge yet. This leads to teaching. Just to know that fear leads to teaching. Archetypally, our first color people, again, sun, earth, your motivational awareness. If you have a 1, these are our most intelligent people. Not a judgment call. Just that they are driven to find out. And that is what leads them to their awareness principle. Okay, so that's part of the true role. The core of what we're going to be looking at is something that is now available through chain knowledge, to understand chains, if you're wanting to know more. So base, we don't work with analytically, it's too much. But when Ra talks about chains, he's looking at this movement of information through the evolutionary process. Chains, if you will. Tone, color, line, and then the gate is where we get the effect of all of that information. The substructure, if you're not familiar yet with that term, substructure is a term of color, tone, base. Okay, line, surface level. You can see it in the basic body graph, not advanced biomechanics. Okay, so what we're doing then is not including base because it's overwhelming and it would take too long again. All right. So back to this level in this overview. In this course, we're going to go through all the true profiles, not the surface profile. We're going to go deep into your charts particularly. And again, this is one of those service processes that you can offer to your clients as a Rave cosmologist, is a deep dive into their profile. So if you're becoming an analyst and you're taking PTL3, or you already have, this is going to inform your practice so much and help enrich and provide depth to your analysis, analytical work with somebody's life work. That's where this becomes incredibly practical. Warning, if that person is not identifying with what you're talking about on the personality side, and you see over on the design side that their arrow, their variable arrow is pointed right, that means then that you've got to go start on the body side to decondition the form, because when the brain-body system doesn't work correctly, the mind cannot be aware. It just can't. It's like being brain damaged. Your mind can't be aware when the form, the hardware, is not operating in alignment. So if we're going to really figure out or analyze how a person is here to be unique, we have to go to this deeper level, because otherwise you're just paying lip service to however many billion people. Is it 8 billion now? Close to? Something like that? 12 profiles? Come on. So much more, yeah, for us to explore. Okay, so there it is. In this element, the true profile is the deeper level that we can go, at least to the color level. And when you get to the tonal level, that's something even further that you get to explore. Tone is something that's going to pull their brain-body system either to the left, tone 1, 2, and 3, makes it an active brain-body system. Tone 4, 5, and 6 makes it a passive brain-body system, which operates differently than the active principle. The personality construct, same thing. Tones affect color. It's going to affect the trajectory that we just took a look at with the 1 as an example. So when you get to the place of tonal cognition on the personality side, tones 1, 2, and 3 pull everything left. Okay, so the mind, the awareness, left, means strategic, means your mind's always processing things, trying to strategize, trying to lock things in, okay, trying to label, trying to figure it out. 4, 5, and 6 is going to pull your mind right. So your mind is receptive, passive, not processing as it's taking in. Very different minds, very different constructs, even if you don't add the tonal cognition underneath the surface. Just to know leftness and rightness at this level, if you're going to go into cosmology, profile, purpose, and function, that is part of what you're going to be learning and how. So the way that the mind processes and assimilates information, the intelligence of the unique cognitive difference that a personality construct can have, right here, tones. And tones are part of the chains. And chains are what we're going to be exploring that is going to help you with your analytical practice. Or you can just do an analysis on somebody's profile, now at a very deep level. A profile analysis is much more in depth than, you are a martyr heretic. Good for you. Good luck. You know? Okay, so that's what you're going to learn. The body, its sensory capacity, how one interprets the frequency field that one is living in this realm. Your miracle for not only diagnosis but also treatment of anything amiss with the form principle, this body, this vehicle, which is the life. Tonal cognition, when you take care of it, it nourishes you from the inside out. Okay? Big, big process to explore and experiment with, if it's right for you. It's very specific here, yeah? When we look at the transitional profiles, we'll see the narrowing there. And we've already covered how this relates or correlates. Okay, so we're going to go through all of the nature of color and tone from the specific realms, particularly in your charts. Okay, we talked about teachers. Here you see the 1-3, first color, teacher. That person is not only investigative, but also a teacher. So when you look at the teacher as a motivational frequency, this motivation for the personality, 1, 2, and 3 colors, just like lines, are personal. You marry that to a generator who's a 1-3, that's a first color. They're very much about self, and they're very much learning about fear, motivated by fear, to dig deep. And in digging deep, once they've found their solid foundation, their fill of information, now can turn around and teach as an expert. However it is that they're intelligently motivated to be that expert. Okay, the tonal cognition underneath. So again, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6 particularly, tonal cognitions. Whether you have it on the brain-body side, we're looking at brain-body now. We're looking at 5, 1, we're looking at the body. Okay? On the body side, those of you, hi, me too, those of you who are 5 and 6 tonally, life needs to go through a process, an experiential process. Think 5 and 6 tonally. Down here. Let's go find somebody tonally. Feeling. Oh, it's not working. It's not doing what I want it to do. There we go. Okay, I'm rolling in. See, tones 5 and 6. We are cyclical in nature. Okay, cyclical. On the body side, that means if we're going to eat something, we have to wait until it is fully eliminated from the body to really get a good sense of how that food made me feel, or how that lover at the end of the experience, meaning goodbye lover, they're gone, how we feel about that whole experience. That takes time. Okay, just like the solar plexus takes time, think 5 and 6 taking time. The touch of someone's hand on you. You could remember it for the rest of your life if it was traumatizing, couldn't you? If they almost choked you out and you were about to die, you can remember that. You can process that for the rest of your life. You don't heal that wound, you still feel that constriction in the chest where they're holding you up against the wall. Sorry, violent, I know. But what I want you to see is that 5 and 6 processes, and it takes time. When have we fully let go of that experience? When it no longer triggers us emotionally. Can we let it go? Can it merely become the substance of the experiential process that made you who you are today? And can you act without agenda nor trauma from that violence, that kind of violence? It means being healed. And Rod didn't like that word healing. He liked, what was it, Naraya? Vibration, frequency, alignment. He liked the word alignment. So 4 and 3 and 4, body-wise, 3 and 4, body-wise, what you'll find is that it's a process, not cyclical, not concentrated, it's periodic, okay? It's periodic. Periodically, you'll get these inner flashes of vision. Periodically, you'll see the outside world differently. Periodically, you'll be nourished by the inner or outer visual perspective. Think left and right eye. Yeah, one going into the future, that's the 17. One going into the past, that's the 11. Visual. Okay, 3 and 4. We learn visually, oftentimes, don't we? 1 and 2, body-wise. Body-wise, you're looking at the tonal cognition that is finding concentrated security in something. Smell. It's concentrated on the nose when you're smelling something, inhaling a vaporizer or whatever the case may be. Concentrated. Taste when it's on the tongue. Concentrated. Okay? So, concentrated. Your intelligence being concentrated. Your intelligence being visual and periodic. Your intelligence being cyclical and processing. This is the body. And again, the body is the life. This is the miracle of what happens when your brain-body system comes online. Because you no longer let that, my mind was going to say mean things about the mind, and it's really not so. The mind is beautiful as an outer authority for the other. But when it's making decisions for you, it can be an incredible bitch. When it's believing the mind's story and you're subjugating your own needs because you think you have to people please, or whatever the mind's story is that gets you to second guess whatever your authority is. Okay? I know it's a lot to process. I'm glad you're enjoying listening, Alex. I'm enjoying speaking so much. I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to be able to work with this work in this way. So, need. When you are operating out of integrity as a teacher, someone is here to dig down deep into the things. You get needy. So I know some of you listening can relate to this because you're in my class. So this is your homework assignment, and we're going to continue that next week because we're going to go through all the colors, okay? But need as a motivational principle when it's blind is dumb. Think dumb, deaf, and blind. When you're transferred to blind need, meaning not only are you not attuned to what to dig into, but you have no access into the realms of what your true awareness and cognitive difference is on this physical material plane. So it's kind of like you've got blinders on. Blind and needy. Graspy and greedy. The not self, the shadow, is always desperate for something. Attention, approval, love, validation, what have you. So a teacher who is out of integrity, trying to be a prophet, needing the approval of the others. And this is where you can start to see if it's right for you to dive into anybody's chart. Doesn't have to be a famous person, but if you see the famous person, please let me know. I want to hear about your investigations, if this is something that you're aware of, even if it's personal. Yeah, be careful not to be oversharing, but if you have something that you want to bring to the table, happy to hear. Do you see yourself or others go into blind need? That desperation to be validated without any intelligence whatsoever. It's dumb. And it's desperate for approval. And it's linked to all of your shadows. This, and I don't care where we talk about it as we talk about it over the next 10 weeks, whatever color it is that you are when you're transferred, not only do you lose your cognitive intelligence, your awareness of your sovereign nature of uniqueness that you can be motivated by and give to another, but also all of, my mind said shit show, all of the openness in the centers, the undefined functions, now they're all screaming for attention too. You got to do this to prove. You won't survive if you don't get that person to need you. Not for you. Not true. These are the crazy needy people that are always needy, quote unquote, saith Ra. Okay? It ends up blinding them to everything else that they could be attuned to. And now you could hear the motivation come out of transferred motivation. Now, let me preface that with some awareness. Where is the stream of need? The need for touch, the need for food. Feed me, Seymour. Naraya has this as in transference. Blind need is the worst. Yeah. But Naraya, you're a great example of this. You have 1949, right? 1949, stream of need goes all the way up to the heart center. So then we add the 37 and the 40. That kind of communal need for resources, everybody needs food, okay? My mind said, give me a break. No, this is psychological need. And how you can tell when it's not aligned for you, you feel it in the body, uncomfortable. You feel that shattering, that splitting of the energy, that discomfort, that disquiet, that pain, that suffering, that frustration, anger, bitterness, disappointment. That married with this, now that's a problem. So it blinds you to everything else that might be a potential for you to learn about survival from. Because remember, your motivation, internal, you first. You're a 1-3 like Naraya is with a first color, teacher. Investigative teacher. Not needy for approval or validation or whatever the case may be. It's not rooted in cognition when she's needy. It's not. You got blinders on. Horse blinders that are taking you in the wrong direction. Because now, see, what happens is, remember how I said 1, 2, and 3? This is more of a personal process, color-wise. 4, 5, and 6, transpersonal. So if you're attempting to force the energy, push the river, go against the flow, and you're trying to get that person because you need them or they need you, and you're talking about need, and it feels uncomfortable, signpost, just like frustration, anger, bitterness, disappointment. Okay? Not rooted in cognition. No fun. No fun. Definitely entertaining. Okay. So if we take a look at the second color, the same thing happens as far as there's words there. We're going to go over it in class. As far as what happens when we are not operating in alignment, we go up to blind guilt. Okay? Blindly guilty. Guilty about the wrong things, guilty about things that are not your problem, not your process. Trying to motivate somebody through guilt as a 2, you're screwed. Because everything's going to result in frustration, anger, bitterness, or disappointment accordingly to your type. And you have no idea. Maybe you were raised by a guilt-ridden mom who was constantly guilty or constantly trying to fix you, thinking that she had something to do and feeling guilty about what she did with you. Oof, not fun. Not fun. 3, my mind's having fun with that, not fun. Priests. Okay, so what happens with Laveena when she's not operating in alignment? For me, the visual of sticking one's head in the sand. Ah, I didn't do it. Not my fault, not my problem. Innocent. Oh, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Not aware at all of what it is that I personally desired, but subjecting myself to the projections of other people's desires on me, getting myself into a whole lot of hot water, grand adventures that you could write home about, but definitely you don't want to experience for yourself unless you're built to handle, because this is a resilient mind. Gets kicked down, back up again. Gets kicked down, back up again. Oh, shit, that happened. Oh, well. So innocence is playing the innocent rather than following the swell of energy. The swell of energy that takes one in a specific direction or into a specific experience to learn from. Okay? So the innocence, when you're not self, this just grabs you. And then now you've got your head in the sand, so you're blind to whatever else is going on. The reality of what is. Hi, where my sun shines. What is? The ability to accept what is. Okay, so when we go over to the transpersonal side, the exact same things happen. We get transferred from the transpersonal into personal. Oh, and when it's a problem if you're personally trying to get things to go because you're terrified or you're hopeful or you're desirous of things that aren't actually there for you. And you will know if this is true if you could simply watch your mind as it's scheming and trying to manipulate for your personal benefit rather than the innocence of being, the ability to fix things as a messenger, as a savior, or the thing to prophesize or to bring exactly what is needed, saying what is needed. Because that person needs not only you, maybe your intervention. If you are truly need motivated, they need to hear it. You've got to be the one. You're a manifester, you inform. Okay, it should bring you peace then, if it's in alignment, or satisfaction, or success, or surprise, depending on your type. That's how you know. Okay, so that's the thing that we're going to explore in all of these prophets who are here to externalize, getting transferred to fearful teachers. Not fun. These messengers who are here to universalize, getting transferred to hopey-dopey people. You know, I'm hopeful, I'm going to win the lottery. Nope, don't have to do anything. I'm just going to sit here in blind hope and hope that it gets better. Sorry, having fun with that. Okay, that's not fun when you're transferred, when you're really here to fix as a messenger. And then Buddha. Now this one I've seen and I've heard, oh, it does not feel fun in my recognition. We tend to attract each other, by the way. If you go and look at any relational dynamic you have with anybody else, notice how you attract to the polar opposite color motivation. It happens. Not that it's bad or wrong, not that you don't have something for the other, just that you tend to transfer each other. So in my zealousness as a priestess, you know, saying, oh, that person needs this opportunity, I'm going to introduce him. Oh, you should go do this, go do this, go do this. Oops, taking that Buddha and putting him in transference. Not fun. Buddhas are motiveless motivation people, okay? This is not selfish, it's more of an enlightened awareness principle. Okay, role model transitions and innocence. The Buddha, this is non-interjection in the sense of desperation or desirous to grasp. It's just the itness of being. And so what happens is blind desire has ruined so many different marriages and businesses, and careers, and families. Blind desire feels desperate inside, or driven to go beyond what is one's innocent spirit of self, one's nature. So each of these, again, I'll go remind you what this is about. Survival, learning, spirit. Survival, learning, spirit at the color level. Okay, the true profile, what they're here for. Remember again, where are we? We're in the sun earth. This is part of their life's work. This is where they're here to be truly themselves. And it is my earnest prayer that you find your own way forward, however it is that is right for you, whether it has twists and turns, and whether you have to go 2 steps forward, 1 step back. This information, I know it will change your life if you just wait and watch and let go of thinking that you have a choice in the matter, but just observe, just see, experiment and see, try it and see. And this is a vast, the title of this class was The Drama of Profile. I forgot to mention it at the beginning. So I did my best to inflect a little drama, to entertain and inspire you. And one last note from Ra before I let you go. Color will always be in transference. You heard me say this, I want to reiterate. At the personality level, it's all okay. You're not trying to fixate or lock it in to a specific way of being. Just be aware. On the design level, when you're operating in alignment with your strategy and authority, it won't. Color on the personality level is subject to transference. That's the drama of profile. What to do? It is what it is. So, from the design side, if you talk about fear, fear is a motivation to master your environment, because that's really what it's about. It's not about being frightened in the sense that fear dominates you as a drive. So I leave you with that because you can see what Ra did with all of this is that he used a reframing of the language so that you would understand it from the true self profile, and also now we have keynotes for the not self profile on a deeper level, the color level. And this is where I leave you, hopefully inspired to at some point study and go into the mastery of profile. I know, isn't it, Julie? Thank you for that appreciation. I agree. It does feel like a whole new world. And I've been wanting to do this class for years now. I remember the first time I did it was 2017. So thank you for your time and attention and investment in this course and in yourself. I shall see you next week. Bye for now. Take care.